Good evening, Hub Nation. Welcome to another episode of 5 Elements of Success Player Development Series. I'm Roger Nick, your host and founder of the Junior Golf Hub. We got a great show for you this evening. As always, want to say thank you for my special co-host here, Tyler Campbell, on my right here tonight, as I'm in location at Emerald Dunes Golf Club in West Palm Beach, playing a little golf, so having some fun. So again, welcome to the show tonight. We got a great one for all you young players and parents out there about the college process and the 5 things every aspiring college golfer needs to know. So really excited about this. But again, my co-host, Tyler Campbell, Director of Performance at Golf Performance Center, and Dennis Hillman, Director of Coaching at the Golf Performance Center. So welcome, guys. Good seeing you.
Thanks, Roger. Hope you're enjoying that warm weather down there. We got about 2 feet of snow this week.
I tell you, I'm not missing that right now at all. It's 75 degrees, beautiful golf course today, not a blade of grass out of place here. So it was a wonderful day playing down here with Mr. Stockwell and the guys.
Enjoy.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, no, it's all good. But anyway, before we get started, let's make sure we want to keep this interactive. Send in those questions, comments, concerns, 5 elements at the Golf Performance Center.com or YouTube chat here on the show. So we want to hear from you so we can help you achieve your greatness on the classroom, on the golf course, and in life as well. So, and we want to make the show better for you. So please send in those comments. Anything you want to hear on the show, would like to hear from you guys. So send it in. Let us know something. So that's really exciting. Also, our pop quiz question this evening. It is, whose 109th birthday would have been today, February 4th, if he had been alive? Let me say that again. Whose 109th birthday would it have been today, February 4th, if he was alive? And here's the hint. He is a famous golfer. So those who send in your answers there, we're going to draw your name out of the hat to win the Junior Golf Hub checklist as it sees bouncing around there on the screen. Man, Andrew, I tell you, that's very good work there. So we'll give props to Andrew Murphy. There you go. Thanks, Andrew, for showing that that checklist. Well done. Well done. Anyway, so before we get started on the show tonight, Tyler, why don't you just get us started on last week's show?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. You had a great discussion last week. We covered our last primary fundamental. We talked about club face. Ultimately, we discussed a lot about club face and what goes into controlling it, but we understand through all of our previous episodes how it's really a lag factor, how all of the other primary fundamentals, which you can elaborate on and maybe recap here in a second, Dennis, really contribute and affect what the club face is doing. So often in the golf industry, it's one of the first things that traditional instructors might go to in the world of the quick fix, if you will, but we understand that there's way more to it, from addressing ourselves physically, and rotating well and getting that club path where we need it to ultimately have success with our club face. So check out last week's episode. It's available on juniorgolfhub.com/5 elements.
Yeah, thanks, Tyler. I appreciate that. Yeah, and it's one of those things I think a lot of people misunderstand what that club face is all about and how you get it there and how misrepresented the body is and that function dictates form is in this whole process of being a better golfer. But I know Dennis will be talking about that a lot, and you're going to be recapping here a second of those primary fundamentals. But, this week on the show, what's new in college golf? We've got some special guests coming on the show, Rick Dowling, the Junior Golf Hub, Customer Success, and Ted Swartwood, who's also our Customer Representative of Success for the college coaches. So they're going to be on the show here shortly and talking more about this. But the tournament scheduling as well, SMART goals, the PDI Self Assessment. We've talked a little bit about that on the show this evening, or not this evening, but in the past. And then your elevator pitch to the college coach. So what that's all about. So looking forward to hearing from Rick and Ted on how to actually handle those situations for that college process as well. Dennis, so as we're getting going into the winter, and obviously we've got seniors in our Golf Performance Center Academy. And they're talking with you about this process and what they need to do for the college coaches. So what are you talking to them about?
Yeah, really, just using that checklist that Andrew just did a flyby with there, making sure they're on track with their checklist based on where they are, what their graduation year is. So making sure they're sending out emails, even though it's a dead period, making sure they're reaching out to coaches, even though they have to wait for that communication back. or an opportunity, to get on the phone with them and talk. Obviously making sure they've got a good list of schools, a broad list if they're young. Ultimately, over time, narrow that list down and make sure they're starting to make connections. And obviously, a big part of our focus is just continuing to bring them back to focusing on improving their performance, setting out a good tournament schedule so that they have those opportunities to get noticed.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to look at it. And the other thing here, Dennis, I think is interesting, and I know with Rick and Ted will be talking about this shortly, but I know you talk a lot, and we've talked a lot with the junior golfers about the college process and what needs to be done and how they need to stay on top of this. Correct? I mean, it's not something that you just send out an email and say, hey, come recruit me, and just because you play well in a couple tournaments or so. It's a big process, and it's something you got to stay on top of.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's really in and of itself, it's a tremendous learning process just for, next phases of life, trying to get a job out of college, or just trying to get a job as you get into adult life. It really takes a lot of persistence and, dedication to communicate the right way, try to knock down those doors, if you will, and just wait for the opportunities that arise. So that they absolutely have to take ownership. We have to obviously give them a lot of feedback and guidance along the way, which anybody needs support in any phase of life to accomplish anything, but we make sure they take ownership.
Yeah, I know years ago, and I tell this story a lot to our junior golfers, and I'll tell the audience out there tonight, I had one of my young students many years ago who wanted to play college golf, and he wanted to be down south, and Kansas was his school of choice, and one of the things that he wanted to make sure the coach knew that he really was interested in Kansas was his number one choice. And he wrote a letter every single week to the coach, a handwritten note saying, Coach, I want to come play for you at Kansas. I want to be an All-American there with you. And the coach just didn't have a roster spot for him. And one, quite frankly, didn't think he was going to be able to play or make his team. But because he was so persistent of sending a note every single week for, 20 some odd weeks, it was crazy how much he harassed the coach. But in a good way. The coach said, come on down, I'll give you a chance. And he ended up walking on to the team. And then by his junior year, he was a scholarship player and did exactly what he wanted to do there. So it is that persistence and kind of that doggedness to get after it every single day and do that little extra. Because, again, it's a big part. It's a big process to go through and think that, coaches are going to just recognize you because based on a couple of tournament scores. So I think it's that kind of persistence. But we've got some experts here, Rick Dowling and Ted. So Ted, why don't we start with you, because I think it's been a very interesting year for the college coaches. And why don't we start with you and talk about what have the college coaches been doing during COVID-19?
Well, that's a funny question, because the number one answer I get all the time is they're all praying a lot right now. So, it's been a real tough year. The pivoting that took place and learning new things and new ways to communicate with prospective student athletes. It's just been a complete learning experience. I mean, they went from this time last year, they were all gearing up for their season. And then it literally was pulled out from underneath them. So they went from having everything laid out and planned very nicely to, a lot of unknowns and not knowing what to do. So it wasn't just the athletes that didn't know what was going on. It was the coaches as well. So kind of what they're doing now is they're getting back into that fold of most conferences are having a season. So the logistics planning is coming back into play. So they're got their hands full with that. A lot of them turned into psychologists, dealing with their teammates, and guiding them through this tough time. So they're getting back into the fold now. They stayed busy, but there was a lot of confusion, and they would have liked to have gone to see some players and some tournaments and have the communication rules be different. But hopefully the April 15th will come very soon, and there will be no more delays.
Yeah, so you mentioned that. So April 15th, that's a big date for a lot of people, especially again now because it's been drug out for so long. What is that significance of April 15th? So let's tell the audience what that is, and so they really understand.
Yeah, sure. And I can probably point to Rick, who might know a little bit more about this than myself. But April 15th is the targeted deadline for the dead period for Division I and Division II, meaning coaches can start to have face-to-face visits, on-campus visits. They can go to tournaments. I know I just got back from a couple tournaments these past couple weeks, and the organizers of the events were like, it's very weird not having college coaches around this year. So, those are a couple of things, and I'll pass this over to Rick to give some more information.
Yeah, the one thing I'll add is that the class of 2023 is really paying attention to the 2 months after the June 15th day, April 15th. June 15th is when officially the floodgates open with the communication between coaches reaching out to their interested prospects.
Yeah, that's great. So one of the things that I think people would really like to understand is, do they wait till April 15th to send the information to coaches so they can actually talk to them? Is it, hey, let me keep being active on the Junior Golf Hub, getting them information, making sure that they are hopefully recognizing them? Obviously, the schools have started some seasons, so they've started their tournaments. They've got their conferences going, getting ready, hopefully, for if nationals happen. So the coaches may be delayed in getting back to them, but should they still be sending information to coaches?
Yeah, certainly.
100%. I mean, just because the coaches can't do it, the players, quite frankly, should be more active. Your discussion with Dennis a few seconds ago about persistence, I had that same discussion, a couple hundred times over the last couple of weeks with players who want to take their game to the next level. And I just explained it in a similar fashion. I said, it's a job. You have a job. You have to wake up every day. You have to have a routine. It's not a whole lot different than your training for golf. It's you are preparing yourself, for the next chapter in your life. In a sense, what Dennis said was it's almost preparing you for that, post-college life for job interviews and stuff. So you absolutely have to, I would say, amp up your activity right now. The season's coming. I know the players are out there working on their physical performance. They're working, on different parts of their game inside and outside where it's possible. But bottom line is, that persistence and the consistency of it is very, very important now, more so than ever, really. So
yeah, I think the one thing,
probably one of the,
sorry, Roger. The one thing every family should definitely be doing is closely monitoring the ins and outs of what's going on with their programs of interest. If they're not traveling or tournaments begin to get shut down at the college level, that's probably a sign that coaches aren't going to be able to travel to tournaments and the dead period is going to be extended. So, keep a close eye on the coming and going of your favorite teams as the season unfolds. And know, like you said, they're probably bouncing around. They're busy getting their team ready, ordering equipment, traveling to tournaments and getting tested. So pick your spots when you do reach out. Try to pick spots where they might not be at a tournament, coming back and maybe have some time to respond.
Yeah, so that's great advice.
One thing I was just going to add real quick to that, Roger, coaches can go to junior tournaments, but juniors can go to collegiate tournaments. So, it's not that they're necessarily going to bump into the coach you need to talk to or anything like that. But, you can go watch the competition. You can see where they're at and see what scores they're posting. Gives you a real flavor for that level, because it's just like anything else. When you go from a certain tournament to a level 2 to a level 3, you can see the levels getting higher. Well, the same thing happens in college. We talked about that a few episodes ago, where it's everything picks up. So it's okay to go and observe, just abide by the COVID safe rules and all that kind of stuff. But by all means, if you're near a collegiate level tournament, I highly recommend that for juniors to attend.
Yeah, I think that's really good, Ted. And one of the things too, guys, let's also face it, there's other schools out there than Division I schools. So, the same rules do not necessarily apply to those Division II, Division III schools. So it should be, very active right now in trying to find that spot or location, maybe NAIA school or a Division I AA school that has slightly different regulations. Would that be true, Rick? Is that something that we can talk about?
Time. Yeah, we follow a bunch of programs on our social media handles, and we see all those coaches posting a lot of different videos, boots on the ground at tournaments, great opportunities to watch athletes in person, almost kind of poking it in, the other coaches' faces that they can do that. But it's really good opportunity for those kind of programs to come to the front and present themselves to quality players.
Yeah, and I think there's kind of it's an opportunity here for a lot of kids also who are in question whether to take a gap year or not. Maybe they find one of these opportunities, they play there. Maybe they actually end up loving the school. Maybe it's a great fit academically for them as well. But the other part of that is going there and playing and getting a year under their belt if they want to go to that Division II or maybe a Division III program and get a year under the belt and then transfer to another school. That's probably something that's out there as well. For
sure. I think I saw something a few weeks ago. The transfer portal is more active than ever. It's just a growing trend after that. They allowed for this to be created. There's a lot of people coming in and out of the transfer portal every year. Yeah, and I think there's also kind of feedback I'm getting from players that are questioning whether they're going to go back for that fifth year of eligibility, which obviously puts a lot of stress and uncertainty on the teams and rosters for college coaches as well. So there still may be more opportunity out there for next year and the year after than people realize because of that. Yeah, you'll probably see the effects of this for the next handful of years to come. But yeah, keep a flexible and open mind because coaches don't even know what's really going on sometimes. And you'll hear a lot of them hedging, once I know more information, I'll let you know. So what does that mean for you? You better have option B, C, and D.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, speaking of that and talking about what the kids should be doing, so you got tournament scheduling. I know Dennis and I, and the guys at the GPC talk a lot about the tournament schedules for our junior golfers. Talk about a little bit about the tournament scheduling and what the balance there should be, if you will, if you're looking for a good start of your season.
Yeah, I think that this slide here is a great template, just depending upon where the junior athlete is in their development. So again, those tournaments 8 to 12 for a freshman, those are multi-day events. So 36-hole regional events would be ideal. And then just progressively getting to more and more competition. So, when you get to senior year, 12 to 18, you may be playing, say, 36, and then if you add some qualifiers and events you qualify for, you'd be 40, 45 competitive rounds in a year. So I think it's a good sweet spot where you're getting enough experience, enough chances, if you will, to actually play well and get recognized, but also, enough time in between to actually prepare properly for those tournaments.
Yeah, that's great. And now, so Rick, you got and Ted. Actually, I'll talk to you about this. But so you're currently also setting up some player development index assessments out there all over the country, and setting up locations at tournaments. So talk to us about the PDI assessments.
Yeah. So what we've started to do, and we began this process last summer. But this year we're really looking to get out there, and we are identifying some of our partners and tour, our tour partners, our PGA section junior tour partners, and we're trying to combine some of their 36-hole events with a day prior to those events where we would come and we would provide the opportunity for the participants to take the coach-guided PDI, which is a major step in getting to your full PDI, and we can explain that a little bit more in a few minutes. But the bottom line is the coach guided takes an hour. It's a good thing to do for practice. I mean, if you're worried about it, if you hear the word assessment, some people get nervous about that. Well, yeah, but the only thing is, it's a good way to test your game and also start to find out and think about how you're going to develop your game to get to the next level. So if we can package these 36-hole events with the coach-guided PDI day, that's what we're looking to do, and we're starting to promote that out there. Specifically with our Notable Gate 3 partnership or Hurricane Tour. Some of the PGA section tours are starting to have a big interest in that. So that's what we're going to look to do to make it easier for our members. The bottom line. To get that done.
Yeah, well, I mean, what you're really trying to do is make sure that the players, as you were saying earlier, is doing something to get themselves ready and prepared, right? So college coaches are looking more at the PDI and where a player is in their skill development, obviously their performance development. And this is a good way to separate themselves from some of the other kids. Maybe they've played in a few more events and higher ranking, but where they are as far as their skill sets and their future development really is a good tool to utilize.
Oh, 100%. And that's one of the things in the conversations I had with athletes the last couple of weeks is getting involved with the PDI is a way to separate yourself from that player who's next to you who has a similar scoring average. You show these coaches that you're out there and you're looking for new ways to develop your game and identify new ways to improve your overall game. This is a great way to do it. And you can start here with the PDI Self Assessment on Junior Golf Hub.
That's fantastic. Yeah, so you can have that QR code there. You can take that self assessment. So if you haven't done that, please make sure you get out there and get that self assessment done. It's a nice self rating and to see how you stack up or where you think you are, and then look for that coach guided PDI assessment out there coming soon. So appreciate that.
Yeah,
Ted, that's great. Great information.
Yeah, and what's nice is after the PDI self-assessment, we'd like people to, they can hit a button and they can send us their information that they're interested in a coach guided. And as we come out there, we'll be able to notify people when we're going to be in their area and they'll be able to sign up. So that is out there now. It's a very simple form that'll take literally 10 seconds to fill out. And then we have your name and contact information and we will notify you when we're going to be in your area.
Yeah, that's great. Well, speaking of that and kind of going through what do I need to do, you're talking about SMART goals. So I know, Dennis, we've had Dr. Brand on and talked about SMART goals before. And so as we're going through this process, we're setting up some SMART goals as well. So why don't we talk about SMART goals here?
Yeah, really important part of the process. We did talk about it a bit with Dr. Brandt, but right now with the tournament season coming up, really want to revisit your goals and get some goals laid out for this season. What are you looking to accomplish, say, by the end of the year, and reverse engineer those goals to some short-term goals to get ready for the season. So make sure those goals are specific. It may be specific to a certain tournament you want to win or a certain finish you want to have in a certain event that you're targeting. You want to have some smaller goals that are measurable. So are you actually making progress? Like the coach guided assessment would be a way to measure where you are. Are you making progress? Attainable. So obviously you want to set out some goals that are not easy to attain, but certainly reasonable within a certain time frame, as it says at the bottom. Relevant. So if you have a long-term goal, you want to win a tournament in August, what are the little goals that are going to get you there? So it should be something relevant based on a certain weakness that was identified in an assessment. So you have this relevant goal that if you get stronger there, it leads to lower scores, better preparation for tournaments. And then, time-based. So, is it a 1-month goal, a 2-month goal? What's, again, realistic to, attain? What's a realistic time frame to attain that goal in?
Yeah, very, very good. That's a good way for everybody to start looking at what they need to be doing and setting those good, SMART goals as well. And Rick, so talking about the Junior Golf Hub and what the players need to do, or some of the things we want to see them do, is when they do run into that college coach or have that opportunity, maybe the as we call it, the elevator pitch, what should they need to know? How do they frame that out?
Yeah, I think it all starts with ownership. This is just a fun kind of concept to maybe put you on the hot seat a little bit. Like, how would you react if there was an open elevator door and 2 of your dream school coaches were standing there? Would you no, I'll get the next one, or hop in and just go right, get right into it with them and introduce yourself? And I think that humble confidence comes from preparation, understanding your game plan, being able to talk about yourself without using the word I, and all those kind of things. And too often I ask a junior at a tournament, what's the rest of the year look like for you? What are you doing for your game? What's your schedule like? And they just will maybe look over at their mom or dad because they don't know. That person would not be able to get in the elevator with a college coach. The person who knows everything about their game, they own their strengths, they own their weaknesses, they own their tournament schedule. they own their development plan, they're going to step confidently into that elevator.
Yeah, that's great advice. I think that is something that's underrated, is preparing yourself for that. And I know in Junior Golf Hub, you got something there for them, right? You've got there was something on the Junior Golf Hub and the Essentials Guide, right? That kind of leads them down some questions to ask and things they need to do. So probably a good idea if they haven't visited the Junior Golf Hub lately or gotten on the Essentials Guide. Go on there and look at the information that's in that library. Some great information on preparing yourself for that opportunity. And it does happen. I mean, it's happened multiple times to people that we know, and all of a sudden it's been some good outcomes. And I think that relationship that you can build with a college coach by, as you said, being confident, humbly confident, but that's really coming from being prepared to talk about the situation or yourself in a way that's not it's we, and I want to be there. So and how we can build, how you can help build a good team there. So I think that's good advice.
Yeah, and you never know when the elevator is going to present itself, so you always have to be ready.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. So I don't know if you guys, we're going to be a little off topic here. Just wanted to kind of popped in my head, so I thought it'd be relevant. Last week's tournament, Farmers tournament. Did you guys see any of that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah. What did you think? What did you think of the Patrick Reed and the Rory McIlroy controversy going on?
I think it's hard to say. I mean, there definitely was some uncertainty about Patrick Reed and the way he took a drop. I can't say for sure what happened. I don't know that anybody really can, except maybe him and his caddy. I think unfortunately for him, there's just been a reputation that preceded even that incident that maybe made it more of a story than it otherwise would have been. So I think it's important, to understand how important reputation is in this game. Obviously, it's a game of integrity. You're representing yourself. You're representing, your family, your coach, anybody that supports you. So, it's something to think about. It's, I always think of it. You want to truly attain the goal, right? Not cheat your way there. But I don't really know what happened. I'm not sure really who knows what happened.
Yeah, I'd agree, Dennis. I think the one thing you can say for sure is that he doesn't have the respect of his fellow competitors. Absent of, you have so many things now with the technology presence in sports, instant replays, timeouts in basketball and baseball to review plays that never would have been reviewed. I just heard about a football play that happened like 30 years ago that if they had reviewed it, it wouldn't have been a touchdown and it would change the history of sports. But so I think these players are under the microscope, and if there wasn't any media involved, we probably never would have heard about it. But what still would have happened is the constant or growing disdain for his infringement of the rules from his fellow players. So you can't deny that. And he has to live with that.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Rick brought up the reputation factor, and I know to tie this into college, when Patrick Reed was in college, he didn't have the best relationship with his teammates, and he was a little bit of a loner and what have you. And I don't know if that's when it started, maybe, but as soon as he started moving up the ranks and a couple of these things happen, you're just treated differently. So I think all the juniors out there should understand that, you do something at a young age, you can have some redemption, but it could follow you around for a long time. Because I was at the Mission Inn, and actually Ryan Burr was there, who was with the Golf Channel, so he still had some contacts, and he was getting calls from people on site about that. And even the people behind the scenes didn't have the nicest things to say about that situation. And I don't think anybody wants to be a part of that. From what I saw, Patrick Reed didn't wait for his caddy, didn't wait for his player, his playing partners. He certainly didn't wait for a rules official. And he had that ball in his hands. So that's a no-no. That's just a no-no. I think you need to put your hands on your hip, and you just kind of got to wait. So, if you want to judge it from that's where I would judge it. I think you always want to take the high road in golf. As Dennis said, it's a game of integrity, and you want to go that way. I don't know too much about the Rory stuff, but I'm happy that he stood up and kind of held ground there a little bit and put his foot down. Not that he put his foot down, but I think he really voiced his opinion a little bit about Patrick Reed, but also about the whole distance thing too. So.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. And Ted, that was kind of, I think I'm glad you brought that up. It was kind of why I wanted to bring it up is I think a lot of juniors out there and listen, the stress that these players are under playing, these highly competitive junior golf events, wanting to get that extra stroke or wanting to, or knock off that extra stroke, I should say, it's too tempting, right? It's one of those things that I think that unfortunately we do see. Obviously, we see it at the highest levels, and we're going to see it at the lowest levels in the highest in the junior golf. So, for all you juniors out there, listen, it's not worth it. You earn all the strokes that you get. It's okay, but how you handle those situations is going to really that will precede you as you go into this college recruiting process. So make sure that you're always being mindful that you're protecting the fields, you're protecting yourself, you're protecting your reputation. So that's one of those things that I think it's always good to bring up and talk about. And we shouldn't, well, I shouldn't say shouldn't. It's just unfortunate we have these situations, but we do see this in junior golf quite often. Just make sure that you're always looking out for the best interests of the game and the integrity of the game. And I think it's really speaks volumes of your character, and I think coaches look a lot for that as well. And they know that you're a good person if you're following the rules all the time. So that'll speak volumes for you when a coach is looking to recruit you as well. So make sure that you're always looking out and mindful for that as well. So guys, so that was great. I just wanted to bring that up because I just think we see it, Dennis, and we're traveling to events, and Rick and Ted. You see these kids; they're under such enormous pressure, and that one stroke might mean a difference to them. And it's just not worth it for them.
Yeah, that was very well said, Roger. Couldn't agree more. And it doesn't even have to be a stroke. It can be, any little kind of thing. And I think the one thing you did bring up that's often overlooked is your responsibility as a member of the community or in an event or even playing a friendly match and holding the rules and the integrity of the game at a high standard and being an ambassador for that. Where were the other players that were playing with these players? These players might have taken abnormal ways to take relief or yada, 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 but where were their playing competitors trying to help them take the right path or enforcing the rules on behalf of the field? And I think you get juniors, especially, who shy away from that responsibility because A, they may not know the rules as well as they should, and B, they're afraid to confront their peers.
Yeah,
well said.
No doubt.
I think that's fantastic. Yeah, well said.
No doubt. All right, guys. Well, listen, I appreciate it. It's always informative to have the Junior Golf Hub on and listening to what's out there in the junior golf landscape world and that college process. So I appreciate you guys coming in and talking more about it. And hopefully you guys out there in the audience, if you have any questions, please, juniorgolfhub.com, log in, check it out. Plenty of information there for you to learn more about this college process. So, again, thanks, Rick. Thanks, Ted, for being on and talking about the Junior Golf Hub. But Andrew, I guess it's questions time, right?
Yeah. We have a few questions.
All right, Michael.
On a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, how important is mental game compared to all other aspects of golf?
That's a good one.
It's all Dennis.
Yeah. Look, a lot of people would rank it very high. I think, if we're talking specific to junior golfers, we look at the 5 elements of success. They all carry pretty much equal weight. Tyler's jumping up and down over there saying physical performance and nutrition number 1, but I'd give it a 5, just like everything else.
Hey, Dennis, I think that's a great answer. We do get that quite often, and I think the mental game for junior golfers is maybe I'll give it a 1. I don't even think they're ready for the mental game of golf, but I just work on your skills, and it'll take care of itself.
Yeah.
I am a 2025 high school graduate. When should I start email coaches?
What do you think, Rick?
That's a good question.
Yesterday.
Good one. That's just,
I like to start for someone that young, maybe just getting into high school aged. If you know a lot about the landscape, I think that's where to start. I think you have to start with research and knowledge. Once you get knowledge enough to then maybe think about reaching out, then you can do that. If you have goals of playing college golf, all the different kinds of opportunities that are ahead of you in the college ranks, then you might be capable of reaching out. I think often you see people just jump to that, I'm going to reach out and introduce myself, but yet they have no knowledge of what they're reaching out to attain. So if you're going to start, just start with research, talk to friends, talk to people that might play college golf, use the hub to perform research into the different array of opportunities in college golf, and then go from there when you're comfortable.
Yeah, and what I would say is be realistic. You're 2025, so you can do a lot of research now. We have access to a lot of information, so don't reach out to all the top programs in the country. Number one, those coaches can't reach back out to you, and if you're 2025 and they don't know about you, you got some work to do, because there are some kids that you're playing with, I'm sure, that are already on the radar of coaches. But really as Rick said, really do your research. And I always going to go back to the hub. We have some great search filters in there, and you can go and you can, over 2,200 college programs, you can search what the fifth player in the team averages. And that's a good place to start, because if you plug in a range, say, 74 to 78, and you're averaging 82, that list of colleges is going to give you a starting point where you can realistically at least reach out. Manage your expectations. And Rick made a good point too. Ask some of your friends' older brothers and sisters. See what their experience is if maybe they played in college. They're a very good resource, and you're not breaking any rules there. So, or forcing a coach or putting a coach in a bad position. So.
Yeah, if you're in the class of 2025 and you have, a lot of different people who are in the same class as you, and you might be a 1%er, you might be a 99%er, but the one thing in common is that you all have a lot of time left in front of you, and anything can happen in those years. The person who starts off with a game plan and solid goals and knowledge of what might happen ahead is going to be the best set in the future. It doesn't matter if there's someone in your grade or you're playing tournaments with that's beating you every time shooting 10 under. You're only in 8th grade. There's a lot of things that can happen and will happen over the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, actually, there was a guy down in Orlando. His dad was telling me his son grew 5 inches in 9 months. So that happened as he was a junior in high school. So that's different. That can happen. So that's why I'm saying manage your expectations, because there's a lot of stuff that's going to happen in these next 4 years that you just don't know.
How can you tell the high-ranking tournaments on the Junior Golf Hub?
Good question. The Junior Golf Hub tournament area is designed to give you some really cutting-edge tools to give you support in that area of, obviously if you're a junior golfer, tournaments are a big part of what you do on a yearly basis. The Tournament Finder gives you a snapshot of all the possibilities that are out there in the country, Canada, internationally, for you to strut your stuff and play competitive golf. Now, you can filter by organizations, the level of competition of the tournament, and find the ones that you might fit into. And a good other thing you can do as a secondary level of research is go to the website that's contained in that tournament's listing in our Finder and look at last year's event results. You'll see the people that played in it, where they came from, the number of people, the quality of the competition, if they went low, if it was relatively maybe a higher scoring event. All that information collectively, which you can get on the hub in the Finder, will give you a good picture as to the quality of the events.
We have one more question. We have seen many high school seniors taking gap years, and not necessarily due to COVID, but more to improve their chances of getting into college golf programs. What are your thoughts on this strategy, as it seems it would be equally challenging given competition is rising and there are good kids trying to play golf each year?
It's a serious question.
Man,
That's a great question.
Yeah, I'll just give my input from the performance side. So for sure, I mean, it's still going to be competitive, right? You take a gap year and there's still a big pool of kids vying for those same limited spots. I think you have to assess, do you really have a good scenario, a good situation for that year to really improve? You're saying, I think I can take advantage of this year and really pass some of the players that are beating me on a consistent basis and improve my recruitability, if you will. So I really think it just comes down to what kind of plan you have, and do you think you'll make a lot of progress?
Yeah, I guess I'll take the other side, or a little bit of the other side. I think the words gap year and getting recruited, taking more time to get to the school I want, they all fall into the same bucket of thinking of college golf as the finish line. It's all about taking more time, and if I have more time, I can get to the level I want to, and it's all about a means to an end. If you approach it with your goals in mind and getting to the best possible scenario for yourself, then that will all take care of itself. If you need more time to attain that, then do it. Don't be afraid to take the extra year. But it all should be for a good reason, not just, oh, I need another year so I can possibly get more time so I can get into that school I want to.
Yeah.
I think that's the wrong way to think about taking a gap year.
Good answer.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer, Rick. I appreciate that. That was really good. Speaking of, we'll just remind everyone next week, stay tuned. Got the 2020 Hub Cup Scholarship winners to be announced on February 11th. So make sure you tune in for that. Plus, how you can learn, become eligible to win collegiate scholarships. Make sure you are stay tuned for that next week. We have our pop quiz winner this week. Who is that, Michael?
Our winner this week is Brad Dove.
Nice.
All right, Brad.
There you go, Brad. It's a great name.
Well done, Brad. Yeah, that's a great name.
The answer
get our
was,
college checklist from the Pdi Hub, and the answer is?
The answer was Byron Nelson.
All right.
Lord Byron.
The answer is Byron Nelson.
He's
Lord Byron Nelson. Way to
If you
go.
follow the newsletter, if you follow the Junior Golf Hub newsletter, hit the links. There's a question about that in our Hit the Links this week. And there's kind of a relation from Byron to our Hub Cup standings, which, as you know, Roger, is our new kind of year-long race for the best scoring average in junior golf. So every year we identify the top scorers on the boys and the girls throughout the whole year. And it's funny that Byron Nelson's birthday would have been today. We're announcing the Hub Cup standings winners next week. Byron Nelson is actually the namesake of an award for the PGA Tour's best scoring for the year. So kind of worlds collide.
Yeah, I love it. It's a big world, but a small world.
Yeah.
Yeah, well done. I appreciate that. Thanks, guys. And as always, we want to thank the Junior Golf Hub as being one of our sponsors on the show. Make sure that you download that app, get out there and get your PDI Self Assessment, get your coach PDI assessment as well. So that's going to be one of those things that's going to help you find out where you are in your college process. But get those coaches in your pocket, search those schools, find that great fit for you on the juniorgolfhub.com. Also, we want to thank Ethan Allen Preparatory, achieving your greatness in the classroom, on the golf course, and in life. As always, make sure you guys who are enjoying the journey, go out there and get after it.